So it looks like Sea of Stars is getting a lot of promotion as it heads into its June summer release. We have a window narrowed down on when you're going to be able to get your hands on this Chrono Trigger / Secret of Mana old school 16-bit inspired RPG. I love what the developers are doing, so I wanted to make sure that I spoke about it again because this game is just looking absolutely fantastic and one of the closer things, like I said, that we're getting to like Chrono Trigger and the golden era of RPGs. Now, recently on this channel, I actually covered another indie RPG called Chained Echoes, which a lot of the work was done by one person over the course of 7 years. So these independent RPG developers that are making these 16-bit or retro-styled RPGs are working incredibly hard, and Sea of Stars is the next great indie RPG in my opinion, and I really shouldn't even put indie in front of it, just RPG, because Chained Echoes is one of the best games that I have ever played on the Nintendo Switch. It's a phenomenal RPG. The developers did so much, and Sea of Stars seems to have that same passion, that same care, that same love and attention to detail, and of course the homage and throwback to the old school era. So in a new Twitter post, we did see that Yasunori Mitsuda, who's composed music for Chrono Trigger and some of the best games of all time, he's done Xenoblade, he's done some legendary soundtracks in the RPG genre, he actually put out a little bit of a track with the Sea of Stars teams. He is a guest composer, so have a listen to this. And of course, you get some new gameplay thrown in there as well, or at least new footage of the game. So Sea of Stars, absolutely a game to track. It's coming out on PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Nintendo Switch, and PC via Steam. Once again, we now have a narrowed down release date of June. June is going to be around the time the game comes out. No exact release day, but June will be the release month of this year, 2023, after a delay from 2022. Now, another thing that I think that this game really has going for it, especially on the Nintendo Switch with the portability of the play and everything, is I think that the battle system, like a lot of these new RPGs that are coming out, they're trying to take the grind away. They're trying to take some of the frustrating aspects away from the old school era RPGs and modernize it a little bit. That was one of the things that made Chrono Trigger so revolutionary even back then. At the time where grinding and kind of having to go through some of these old school RPGs was somewhat necessary, Chrono Trigger came in and said, well, if you can do this, and this, you won't have to. If you have some really dope side quests, they'll get you some awesome items or weapons, you won't have to do that. And it seems like this game is also kind of doing the same thing in that way in terms of how they're marketing it and what they've shown so far from the combat. So they're focusing on a fast, fluid battle system with a fantastic story and great music. I think that is the recipe for a phenomenal RPG, especially if it's going to be a throwback style RPG like this is. So looking forward quite a bit to Sea of Stars. Make sure you guys check out them on Twitter at Sea of Stars Game. And of course, look out for more coverage of Sea of Stars on the channel. Now, next up, we're going to be talking about Bandai Namco and what they're going to be doing when it comes to Tales of Symphonia, the remastered game, and what we could see in the future. Now, this was an official FAQ on the Japanese Bandai Namco site, and it was translated, I think, by Nintendo Everything here. There was a bunch of stuff as well. So let's go over some of the things that they talked about. Now, some people were asking, well, why Symphonia? There's other games that haven't been remastered. This was their answer. After Tales of Vesperia, this is the second game to be remastered for the current generation. Symphonia was the first title released worldwide, and we had heard many people both in Japan and overseas express interest in playing the game on the latest platforms, which led to the planning of this remaster. Now, they also discussed if there's going to be more remasters or remakes of the Tales series, because there's a lot of games that still need to come over to modern platforms. They also said this: we hear from a lot of passionate fans of the series around the world that they want to play old Tales games on the latest platforms. We as a team thank all of you from the bottom of our hearts. We are currently focused on the release of Tales of Symphonia Remastered, but we await your suggestions and requests in the future. So they also went into some other things about improvements with this version of the game. notoriously at least, this one won't be 60 frames per second like the original GameCube release, which has definitely got some people peeved about it a bit. So they said this about the improvements. We've improved the visual quality of the game, such as the graphics for the main characters, streets, and fields, and the items within them too. We also stabilized the frame rate when using some arts, improved the controls for the elemental cargo on the ocean, added a skip function to some events and cutscenes, put information such as dates on save files, and many other changes for an overall smoother Symphonia experience. So when they say they improved the frame rate for certain things, obviously they're going off of the 30 frames per second port from the GameCube, or at least after it was ported like on PS2 and other things. They're going off of that one because the GameCube one was 60 frames per second and this one's going to be 30. Now they also talked about content being added or removed, and this has become a huge issue with certain remasters or re-releases or remakes cutting out some content. So here's what they had to say. Including DLC, there is no extra content for this game, but no content has been removed either. The legacy character costumes and the costume titles added to the PS3 version of the Unisant pack are in this game as well. Also, both opening themes, Starry Heavens version 2013 and Thus I Can Do It 2013 version, are included by idling on the menu screen when booting up the game. You can watch the opening animation with either theme. Okay, so I guess, yes, the PS3 version of the game when it comes to the 30 frames per second stuff. All right, there you go. Now, this is the last question from the FAQ, and they said, is the sequel Dawn of a New World included in this game? And they said, the game contains Tales of Symphonia only. The new costumes, arcane arts, unison attacks, and other such content from the PS3 version are all included in this game. So, Tales of Symphonia Remastered is due out for the Nintendo Switch. Also, PlayStation, Xbox PC is due out for like everything. February 17th, 2013. Very interesting with some of this stuff here, and probably going to make some fans mad when it comes down to it. Obviously, Dawn of the New World, which is a follow-up to Symphonia. People would have liked to see that in here. Maybe you get double pack action, but it is what it is. I mean, I think that there's some good things with this remaster, but there's definitely some oversights as well. I'm going to get it because I think it's going to be a collector's item. I feel that this physical edition for the Nintendo Switch is probably going to be hard to find in a number of years, so I'll pick it up for that. But it is a little bit upsetting when it comes to some of the things not included and some of the decisions that they decided to make with this, but it is what it is when it comes down to it. So what are your thoughts when it comes to Tales of Symphonia Remastered? Plan on picking this one up at some point? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next topic here, guys, and that's the Nintendo Switch. It's the best-selling console in the UK in 2022 by a very small margin. Pokemon at the very end kind of eked out the PlayStation 5. So shout-outs to Mr. Christopher Dring. He runs the game industry website, or at least he's the lead analyst on there, and he gets access to a variety of actual numbers and sales data that's happening in the UK for Nintendo Switch, PlayStation, and Xbox. And he had this to say when it comes down to it. In the UK, Nintendo Switch overtook PS5 right at the last to become the best-selling console of 2022. He also followed that up with by it wasn't many units that separated them, so it was pretty much a tie between all of them. But the Switch did come out just on top. And the one thing that I wanted to say with this is that this is kind of impossible to see what the Nintendo Switch is doing at this point in its life. We have never seen a system 6 calendar years into its life continue to be the best selling, regardless of the circumstances with other consoles out there. We've always seen a very sharp decline. And if you want to just really tag it down to Nintendo consoles, we've never seen this. This is literally impossible for a Nintendo console to do this late into its life. Let's just not even talk about other consoles, just Nintendo itself. To see it still selling like it is, there's been no other system, even with their biggest selling systems like the Nintendo Wii or even the Nintendo DS, GBA. Some of these systems didn't even last that long. So the Switch definitely has staying power at this point. I think that the games have been the biggest contributing factor to that, and that will always be the biggest contributing factor to a Nintendo platform being successful or not. It's going to be the first party games and how those games carry the system, and then people say, okay, well, I bought the system for Pokemon or for Zelda or for Mario, and what else is there to play? What other third-party games but what's going to drive a system is going to be those first party games for Nintendo. Now, for Microsoft and Sony, they can survive on third party. They've done it many times before. Xbox didn't have really many major AAA first party games this year, but they still sold decently across the year, even with the chip shortage, right? That would never fly for a Nintendo system. Heck, with the Wii U, we saw what happened there. We saw what happened at the beginning of the Nintendo 3DS's life. So the biggest and main thing for Nintendo is to always have that consistent flow of first party games throughout every single year of its life, no matter what. When you lose that, you lose people's interest when it comes down to it, because of how Nintendo's just done things over the decades that they've been around. Not since just the Wii era when they started making weaker systems, but even before that, from the NES to the Super Nintendo to the N64, you have to have that first party support if you want to get these continued sales. But it really is pulling off some impossible stuff here with the Switch. But I do feel that 2023 will be the last full year of the Nintendo Switch system, as Nintendo is gearing up and getting ready to move on to the Nintendo Switch 2 and what they're doing next, which we will have a video talking about that this upcoming week. There will be some information that I do want to go over with that, and also my thoughts in terms of what I think they're going to do on top of what I've already said before. But what do you guys think about this? You guys can let me know in the comment section. And we are going to move on to one more topic here, guys, and that is Nintendo of Europe, Nintendo of America, and the full-blown marketing that's happening. Heck, not even just Nintendo of Europe and America, Nintendo of Japan as well, and the official Japanese Fire Emblem page. We're getting a ton of new Fire Emblem Engage information, previews, all sorts of stuff. Things are in full go. Obviously, the review scores are coming up pretty soon here. I think like the Wednesday before the game launches or so, we'll probably have review scores here. It's looking like it's going to do pretty well. But what we've seen so far is there was a post when it comes to Nintendo of Europe. I want to make sure that I go over this, where they talked about the kingdoms of Firain, Brodia, Salm, and Alucia all hold these emblem rings, with each entrusted to a member of its royal family. Securing the rings for the Divine Dragon in hashtag Fire Emblem Engage won't be an easy task. So they're setting up a lot of this stuff here with the story. They're setting up the characters and what you can expect. You're getting the marketing ramp up, because this is going to be a big game. I know people are trying to look forward a lot, obviously, to The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. That's going to be a monumental game that's going to sell 10, 20 million units very quickly. But I think that before that, we've got some Fire Emblem action that Nintendo really wants to focus in, so this doesn't get overshadowed by as big of a looming shadow that Tears of the Kingdom is. And I like what they're doing here with the marketing. In Japan, we've been getting some new overview trailers, some big stuff here. Those still need to be localized. As of the time that I'm recording this video, they're not up yet. But also on Twitter, we're getting new information on the setup for the game, the story of it, the characters, the art, and it just all looks incredible. You combine that with the previews that we've been seeing as well, and it's looking like this is going to be one of the better Fire Emblem games out there, mixing the old school with the new school when it comes to combat and when it comes to the tone and everything. Singular story path, more of an anniversary style of game this time around, with emblem rings and with this fantastical story as well, and a dragon that you need to slay that's going to be resurrected. So I love everything that I'm seeing so far from Fire Emblem Engage, and tech-wise, it's looking a lot better than Fire Emblem Three Houses, which Digital Foundry did go over. So all around, this is definitely a step up and something that I would love to see Nintendo do. And I put out a tweet the other day saying, like, this is incredible to see what's actually happening, because this franchise went from its deathbed, literally back like about 10 years ago, on its deathbed with Fire Emblem Awakening, all the way to a multi-million major franchise for Nintendo, as they classify it themselves, where you're going to see Fire Emblem characters, you're going to see, of course, merchandise and amiibos and all sorts of stuff pertaining to it, and you're going to see regular games and Intelligent Systems, a company that's not owned by Nintendo, get regular work, as they're always getting ready for that next Fire Emblem game. So I love to see that. I love to see the stability, and this is phenomenal. I love these different characters too. I think one of my favorite characters, Tamara, she is awesome, and I love the design, and I also like Ivy too. I think the design on Ivy, this mage, is really cool, kind of channeling her inner Thahara, but in a little bit of a different way. So they always do the best job of designing these mages here. So I'm loving what I'm seeing. This is like the rebirth of Awakening to me, in my opinion, with a little bit, a dash or so of some of the newer games, of course, Three Houses and stuff like that. So very good. Awesome to see, and I'm looking forward to covering Fire Emblem Engage even more. And if you're someone new, please make sure you check out my previous video where I talked about Fire Emblem Engage when it comes to if this is the first place to start. Also, I talked about Fire Emblem Engage when it comes to the graphics boost and many other things, so make sure you guys check out those videos on the channel if you haven't already done so. I'll have links to those in the description below and of course right here on screen. So that's going to wrap it up for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you for the next one. Peace.